So, I would like to thank you all for coming here at the conference. It has been quite a turbulent year, and we were a little unsure what will happen. But I feel extremely good to be here. This is the first time since 2005 when I've given a keynote at the MySQL User Conference. Actually giving keynotes at lots of other conferences, but not here for a while. And it's nice to see a lot of old faces, friends, and be able to discuss and work with them. And I want to especially thank O'Reilly for actually ensuring that the conference happened, because it wouldn't have been possible to do without them. I also want to thank Tim O'Reilly for his commitments to open source and to MySQL at large. And he set an example that we all should follow. I think it was even at the O'Reilly conference that the phrase open source was first announced to the public. And we also know that Tim O'Reilly has personally sponsored projects like Perl, one language that was one of the first languages that we had a close relationship with MySQL. And I think it's very extremely important that we have companies to support the open source ecosystem. I will come back to that later. So this is a slide about shows the darkness of the last 2 years, because we have been in a financial crisis. Companies had tried to save things, cutting costs, but as in the previous recession, Linux has gained momentum, cheap hardware has gained momentum, and open source has gained momentum. And we are the big winner during the sessions. And the open source middle layer has been accepted as something that big companies can depend on. And if things goes like this, 3-4 more recessions and Linux will be used everywhere. So during the last 15 years, MySQL has entered the web space, been the dominant player there. And in some parts, back to Sun's backing, MySQL has been considered a strategic alternative by traditional enterprise CIOs. Of course, then we had the acquisition by Oracle, and that got some people in big companies to think that what will happen next, and people have been waiting also for this conference to know that what will happen. But still people are searching for low-cost solutions, and my view is that it's up to the open source community to deliver the things that companies need. And this is the MySQL ecosystem. It has been a lot of movements this year. A lot of things are happening. A lot of people has been changing jobs, especially in the MySQL sphere. Within Sun, most of the MySQL executives has gone, changed jobs to completely different things. But what has made me happy is that we have been able to keep the engineers within the ecosystem. Some people have gone to kind of rack space. Some people of the engineers has come to me, and a lot of it still stayed within the Sun Oracle. But I'm happy that we don't see a big spread of people going everywhere, and we would lose everything that just worked for during the last 10 years. There have also been a lot of my forks of MySQL, which MariaDB, the fork I'm working on, being one of those. But the good thing is that the forks are looking into joining efforts. And like with Drizzle, we think that we have no time to rethink, to recreate things, and wonder, what can we do differently? What can we do better? So this is a map of the different forks. It doesn't include the storage engines, even if most of the storage engines, especially the commercial ones, they have their own forks, like Kickfire, InfoBright and CalPoint. Of all these forks, Drizzle is the only true fork. They decided to go their own way, like we heard from Brian. They want to do things in new ways. And that's really good. We can learn a lot from them, but they're not going to provide something that is backward compatible with MySQL and something that when you are depending on features in MySQL that you can comfortably move to. So of the forks, we have our Delta. That is a fork that was created by Arjen Lenz because he felt that the MySQL development with 5.0 and 5.1 was going so slowly that the community patches that was floating around was not accepted, and he thought that he would do something about it. So he created a fork where he incorporated patches from the community and packaged them together and delivered them out. So it's more a packaging and a repository than a true fork. Then we have Percona, who has been created XDB as a fork of the MySQL InnoDB plugin, the one that is not in 5.1 but the later versions. Because their fork also contains some famous Google patches to make InnoDB work better. And they have now released the Percona XDB server based on 5.1. And yesterday we got to give a award to Kai Sadler for XAMP, which basically is LAMP for Windows. And that's the only fork that includes the PBXT storage engine. By the way, could I get some water? Somebody. So the pictures is missing MariaDB. So where do we have that one? As I see, MariaDB is the glue that will put everything together. Next slide. It doesn't. We are working with all the different forks, and we are changing patches, and the other forks are committing things or promise to commit things to MariaDB. With Drizzle, they are taking such different paths that we can't easily merge with them, but we do exchange ideas, code, and patches. Our goal is to be inclusive and community developed, and be transparent. So all our trees are in Launchpad. We have a public list of committers, also outside the Monty program maybe. And we're actively working with the different storage engine vendors to ensure that we can incorporate as many storage engines as possible that make sense into MariaDB, and also make it easy for storage engine vendors to work with us. So we are enhancing the storage engine interface. We actually have on Friday have a storage engine summit that we are organizing to see what the needs are for the storage engines and ensure that the development that will happen until the next conference will be something that can benefit them. The MariaDB 5.1 is based on MySQL 5.1. So we have all the features from that one. We constantly merge from their code. And when 5.5 will be of a RC quality, we will do a MariaDB 5.5 release. It will be based on MySQL 5.5, plus all the changes that we have been able to do until then. That will be probably be MariaDB 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, and 4.5.4, looking at how the release schedules of MySQL have been lately. So with our Delta, we are using our Delta scripts to make packages for MariaDB. Arjen Lenz has been very helpful for there. He also pointed out which community patches are more important, which we have incorporated into MariaDB. And our Delta 5.1 will use MariaDB 5.1 as a base. With Percona, we are taking XDB, included that into MariaDB, and including the more important patches. And we are working with Percona to ensure that also they in the future can use MariaDB as a base for what they do. And of course, they have commit access to MariaDB. We're extremely open to give commit access to people as long as they can prove that they actually know their stuff. And we, of course, have a tight review process that everybody who has commit access are part of, to ensuring that we keep up quality in the code. But even with all the changes we are doing, our work is to ensure that we are backward compatible, we are drop-in replacement of MySQL. Today and in the foreseeable future, you can just deinstall MySQL, install MariaDB, everything works exactly the same. All libraries are binary compatible. You just get more feature, more reliability, and more speed. I will come to that in a couple of seconds. So we are community developed, we are a Fused and enhanced version of MySQL, and we are backward compatible. And that's the biggest difference between us and Drizzle. We believe that there's lots of people who need to ensure that that exists alternative from MySQL, from Oracle. We are the alternative. We will have always more features, and we are working closely with the community to ensure that. So, MariaDB 5.1, we finally got something that we could call a stable release in February. It took about 3 to 5 months more than we had envisioned. And that's because we went through the code and do the same exercise that Drizzle did. Remove the compiler warnings with GCC, everything except anti-aliasing, because when you combine C and C++, that warning is not relevant. We did check all the warnings, so we know that we are fine. But we spent a lot of time to make the MySQL test suite repeatable and ensure that there's no problems that could stop our build system. We had constant file failures for the first 9 months. That tests that worked on one machine randomly didn't work. All of those are fixed, and that's why we could finally do a 5.1 release. So the 5.1 includes all the major open source storage engines, PBXT, XDB, Federated, Maria. And we are working with the storage engines to ensure that everything works as good as it can be. We are doing active review of patches that comes into the MySQL internals list and to the MariaDB lists, and we try to incorporate those patches, usually within days. So, and what have we done for 5.1? So we have XDB in 5.1. That means that we have a stable release of MySQL called MariaDB that gives the performance that was promised last year in MySQL 5.4. And it's the base for the performance of MySQL 5.5. You can take that and use that today. We have an open source build system. So when we left Sun, the source was open, but this build system wasn't. So Christian Nielsen spent a lot of time taking BuildBot, a free development and build platform, and enhancing it to be able to do proper builds on MySQL, MariaDB. And everything we did is committed back to the project. All the scripts we have done are open source. And I would like to say that MySQL had a slogan that you can work on MySQL from anywhere. Now you can say you can work at MySQL from anywhere. Now you can work on MySQL from anywhere. And that's a big change. Anybody can now take our scripts and do the same thing we did, which is a good thing. So what have we done more? We have added optimizer fixes for fast complex queries. So queries that uses temporary tables are faster. We have a pool of threads using lib events, which means that you can have 100,000 connections to MariaDB and just have a number of threads doing that. You can combine that with the old version, so you have the best of both worlds. We have table elimination, a feature that was sponsored by customers, where you have generated queries that uses tables in the query that actually are never fetch any data from. We automatically remove those stuff. And here's a benchmark that Mark Callahan published a little while ago, which shows that PBXT has much better raw read performance than any other engine. The important thing here is that by including storage engines into MariaDB, and we have a lot of those, and we have a lot more in the next release, we give people access to the best technology that exists today. And this is something that we have now in the stable release. In 5.5, I think the Mark said that he seems to get better performance from the latest in the DB, which is in beta. But this is also tested with the stable PBXT. And Paul will probably tell you that his new PBXT, he will continue to have better performance. But there's one worrying thing in this one, is that we always said that MyISAM is very good for raw reads, and because it doesn't have transactions, it has less overhead. And this curve shows something different. That's because there's a major lock in the key cache that stops MyISAM from performing on many threads. But in 5.2, we fixed that. So we added partitioned key cache, and now we have got up to, for those kind of queries where you do a lot of fetches, we have up to 70% improvement. For multi-core, we usually saw between 40 to 70. And this is important even if you're not using MyISAM, because MyISAM is used for larger joins for temporary tables. And the key cache mutex actually also affected those. So this also gives you better join performance for a lot of stuff. So about 5.2. We have added more storage engines, or are adding those. We're continuing to work in the Maria engine. More about that later. We had a group commit. And user stats. That's a patch from Percona that gives you status about all your tables that are used, your index which are used, and users, how much time this user spent on a query. Brian had talked earlier about the user who had the need for more information about how users are using the database. All that already is included into 5.2. And it has been in production by Percona for years. We also added virtual columns, which allows you to have columns with data that actually not stored, except if you index those, in which case they are implicitly stored. I will cover all of these issues in my talk later today. And we actually have a release of 5.2 as beta that you can go and download. The interesting thing with MariaDB 5.2 is that it's basically 5.1 plus patches that has been proven stable by the community and for different big customers. So we believe that most of those should be stable. So our expectation is that the 5.2 should be of stable quality within 2 or 3 months. It also actually includes pluggable authentication, which I have is missing from the slide. So we have added the interface that you can do really advanced authentication. For example, if you would like to do authentication of Windows or LDAP, it's pretty easy to add. And we are talking with Drizzle so that they can look at what we have done and add that to Drizzle, because ours are much more advanced. Not criticizing Drizzle. I love to work with these guys, and we are constantly trying to change things. For example, libdrizzle, we are working with them to get that into MariaDB. That's how we cooperate. Nothing to laugh about. Those you should be laughing if we wouldn't cooperate. So, forward statement that you can trust. We are working now on 5.3. And this is something that the optimizer team at Monty program is extremely proud about, because they had been working on years to extend and improve the optimizer in MySQL. They added a lot of that work into 6.0, and then 6.0 was scrapped, and they were a little upset that all the work they spent years on would just be not used. So they have spent the last 4 months backporting things, improving things to ensure that we have a much better optimizer than MySQL has ever had before, especially around subqueries. And I was, according to these guys, and they should know what they're talking about, we now have an optimizer for subqueries that's comparable to some other big commercial vendor. And we should have this in beta quality within a couple of months. We actually wanted to, the optimizer team actually wanted to announce this as beta at the conference, but having 2 versions as beta, I don't think that makes sense. So we will let this bake a little bit, and allow them to add more features. We want to see basically 1 release every 9 months. Currently, we are in the good position that there exist so many good patches out there that hasn't been incorporated into MySQL. So we'll be able to do probably 3 releases this year. And after that, we will have, when the code stops coming in from those, we'll try to do releases at the pace that people want us to do. The thing is that compared to Drizzle, we are working with vendors who actually want to keep a version, and they don't want to have surprises by getting new features in the next one. So we're actually going to give support for all the old versions. And if we do a release every second month and actually have to support that, that would be impossible. So we are trying to follow the MySQL release plan, but if they're really doing a release in not appropriate time frame, we will do 2 or 3 releases during that time frame. And we are working on a pluggable replication API. We are working with Codaship, that's a company Galera, and Continuent, that's Tungsten, to provide a new, better replication, better protocol. And we have got a sponsorship from the Finnish government to do this. And we are pretty happy. We have lots of ideas how we do that. And all discussion about this are done on an open mailing list. Anybody can join and participate in. And there's still a batch of patches that we're working to get in. Okay. So there has been some confusion in what we are doing, and that confusion comes from the fact that at Sun, and in MySQL before, the last 2 years, me and my team spent time developing a new storage engine that was meant to replace MariaDB. It was called the Maria storage engine. It was to be a crash-safe version of MyISAM at the first stage, and then later be a full replacement to MariaDB. And it was named Maria after my daughter, Maria, the same way that MySQL was named after my daughter mine. I like to have a nice history, and otherwise you will get a little bit too much competition between the children. But then when Oracle bought Sun, we noticed that even if it's important to continue with Maria, it's even more important to ensure that there always exists a free version of MySQL that you can use for free, and we actively developed. And we then switched to work on a fork of MySQL, and for convenience, we call it MariaDB. And everything was good until everybody noticed that everybody is confused that what are we working on, Maria storage engine or MariaDB? On Maria, we will still plan to do stuff. We will add transactions. I mean, on the engine, not on the data. And but in a slower pace. But to avoid the confusion, we decided that okay, let's have a contest to rename the engine. Just something more sensible that people wouldn't be confused with. So we have in our booth a contest, and you can win a nice System 76 laptop computer if you suggest something that is sensible. Sensible, please. You actually have another System 76 that you can win just by going to our booth and enter a raffle. So please go there. So, behind MariaDB. So, MariaDB, as we view it, is a community project. But still, you need the drivers. That's the core talent that is pushing it. Currently, the driver is Monty maybe because most of the core developers, not all, are employed by us. We have employed the top MySQL talent. So the whole optimizer team is working at Monty AB. We have 3 or 4 architects, the original core developers, and we have a unique opportunity in that we are the one who knows MySQL code the best. And that's how we are based our business on. And the foundation on Monty Program AB is that we are running the company in something that we call the hacking business model, something I created with Zach Grant some years ago, where the idea is that the company is owned by the employees, run by the employees. I'm the boss in name, but I can be overruled. That's an interesting position to be in. But this is created because I wanted to provide a home for the MySQL talent. I didn't want the MySQL talent to scrap by the wind just when anything happens. And I'm creating a home where the goal is to get the people to stay there. And to make it clear that all the money that we get in, we put into development of the code. There's no owner, no investor who can get any money. In the best case, some of the developers can get a nice bonus. That's what we work for. So, because we can only use the MySQL code as GPL, we don't do dual licensing. We work on providing new features, bug fixes to MySQL or MariaDB. We do both. We are happy to work with what the customers want from us. And we do provide 24/7 support through a support partner program. We have some 30 people, or 30 companies that is in that infrastructure. So we can do good support, and all the support is backed by us, which means that we can fix any issues that exist with MySQL. So what we believe is that in an organic network of companies, this is actually something that Tim O'Reilly talked about yesterday, and that actually scared me when looking at what he said and then looking at the Oracle slides. Oracle will say that we want to provide everything. The whole stack comes from us. That also means you are totally depending on us. And that's exactly what Tim O'Reilly said, that, hey, this is something that we need to take care of. We shouldn't be depending on one solution. So my vision is that instead of having one giant company, you have a network of companies where you share customers, share ideas, and together work like a big entity. And the nice thing with this one is that such an entity is also much less in risk for hostile takeovers. And we also believe that this provides a much richer experience for the customer. You can go to one company, and even if it's a web company, just the web shops, he still can offer to do support for the database, training, consulting, because he can offer all the services that all the infrastructure provides. That was why we created the Open Database Alliance, which is kind of the heart of this infrastructure. And we call it Open Database Alliance because I believe this is much bigger than just MySQL. We want to have companies from that supports Postgres, SQLite, even Oracle if they have an open source version of Oracle. But we want to be something that one shop for any need that you need open source databases or open source services around databases. And at the same time, I also want to announce the MariaDB Unlimited Support subscription. With unlimited, we mean here that it's a fixed price in spite of how many servers, cores, databases you have installed, or how big your company is. Fixed price, easy. It covers every MySQL version up to from 3.23. No end of life. And this is actually something that I, as a database user, love. I don't want to be forced to upgrade. And we have unlimited monitoring provided by Monyog, the nice people at WebYog. We can also attach some Monday backup to this one if somebody's interested. Everything for a fixed price for unlimited use. I think this is a good deal. And the price for the unlimited is $36,000, which is a deal for anybody who has paid $400,000 or a couple of millions for support subscription from some of the big vendors. And there's lots of other things that it's included this one. There's a knowledge base. We have more tested binaries and stuff. But the thing is that this is the same thing that you get from all the code that we do in Monty program is guaranteed open source. But we do add commercial offerings to this one from partners just to provide a better thing for you. And come to our booth to learn more. The economics open source. This is something that I feel really, really strong about. Sun under Jonathan Schwartz was one of the companies who actually understand how to work with open source. Sun didn't always do that, but they had a heart for doing that. They didn't only lead and develop open source products. They actually sponsored those with machines and with money to different projects that they saw that had an impact with them. And they sponsored conferences. And that's something that I heard from people who have worked on this open source part of Sun that they're really afraid of. What will happen when there's just a big black hole where there was Sun before? And I think Sun needs to get credit. They did a lot of good things. So, another problem with open source is that in an economic downturn, everybody's saving money. And even if people and companies start using open source, they don't contribute to open source with code or money. So the open source projects are actually worse off because even if they get more usage, they don't get money. And that we actually need. And this is something I really believe in that we need to change. We need to start to provide infrastructure, to provide money back to open source, so that we have developers who can start working full-time on open source without having to do a lot of consulting gigs on the side. And I'm working with some initiatives to doing that. And what I'm personally doing this one, because just talking about and not doing, that's not worth anything. So we created the ODBA, the Open Database Alliance. One of the main ideas with the Alliance is actually drive money back to open source. So while we're creating this organic network, 80% of the memberships fees actually goes back to support open source projects. And we have relatively high memberships fees. So we hope to be able to support a lot of projects that the members need to be able to do their business. A notable part of the MariaDB Unlimited support subscription will go to the project that the customers are using. Because we embedded storage engines and other technology into MariaDB that are open source. And when somebody takes a subscription, they can say that we are going to use these of your open source components, and we will give money to those to ensure that they are developed. I think that's a good idea. We also created a bounty system for people who want to have features into MariaDB. You can go and say that I would like to have better application, we are working on that one, but anything. And say that I'm willing to pay this much money on it, for it. Somebody else can also come and contribute, and when we are get enough people to committed to do that, we will actually ensure that that's done. But at the same time, that during this collection of money that comes from the community, and actually actively from us talking with customers and get them to commit, anybody from the community can come in and say, hey, I could earn 10,000 by doing that feature. Then they can do that and commit, tell us first so we don't do it at the same time. And if the patch gets accepted, they get the lion part of this money. The theme of the conference is that MySQL is an ecosystem, not just a company. This is something that I really think is a nice thing, something that should have been the theme of the conference for previous years. Within MySQL AB and with Sun, I really tried to get us to commit more to open source, to the community of open source, work with them to get the patches in, but I wasn't successful. And it was kind of a little bit ironic that I have to go out from the company I created to start to work with the community and be part of it. And so I have a dream in this that I would like to see everything be rebuilt around MySQL as open source. That means that the server needs to be open source, but also all the basic tools that you need to be able to fulfill your basic requirements should be available for free. And that includes things like a backup for your main storage engine, and documentation and the build system. So what we are doing, we have solved the build system issue, and now we are working on the documentation issue to ensure that there will soon be a free available documentation for MySQL and MariaDB, because we are just enhancements. So when we document MariaDB, we get MySQL on the side. I would also see that all the different forks are working close together, and the different companies using MySQL and MariaDB are working together. And it's hard to not take Drizzle an example, that you need to have lots of people outside and inside to get something that is developer-driven and company-driven. The best possible database you can get is when you have people who are using the code, also developing it. And the only way to do that is that you have developers everywhere. I would also like to see all the different forks, and actually all versions of MySQL, to contribute code to one trunk that we all would use. Of course, you need to have different versions, because customers need versions, but still. And we are still a long way from there. At least we have good signs that all the MySQL forks outside of Oracle will be start committing to the MariaDB trunk. That's what I hope to see, and we are doing everything to help the different forks to do that. Of course, the Drizzle is outside because they don't care about backward compatible, but those who care. Also, working on and dream about having multiple service companies offering enterprise global support. So you're not depending on one entity, because that's critical. When we created Monty program, AB, we created it with the intent to see that we can never become a big giant that is in control of everything. Because in MySQL, we were always fighting with our partners that because MySQL wanted to do everything. We didn't send leads to those who needed those because our salespeople said, oh, we can do that ourselves. I think that's the wrong thing to do. So what we did, intentionally create a company doing the thing that nobody else wants to do. The core development of the server, and we're putting our efforts on that one. And then we are creating a partner network for doing all of the stuff that is needed, of 24/7 support. We are doing the back support because we can do that better than anybody else. But of course, other people can also do that. And the less people are depending on one company, the better for the whole infrastructure. So this was more or less what I had to say. And I hope this will be informative. Also, I hope also you know what we are doing. So my vision is that why I created the whole MariaDB and started doing that and continue doing that I'm totally dedicated in ensuring that MySQL is available for all. That's a slogan I always had, but that's why I'm doing this one. I also feel enormous dedication to the people that I've worked for a long time, and I'm doing everything I do to provide a good home for them, to ensure that we can satisfy the dream to keep MySQL alive. And all the different rumors that I would do this for money, I can just say, go and look at the hacking business model. You have to be a genius to figure out how you can how any owner can make money of that one. It's intentionally done that way. I have my own company on the side where we do investments, where I make my money. This is something I do because I feel I have to do it. And I'm afraid that if I wouldn't do that, nobody else would do it. So thank you.